Denver's new mayor celebrates a micro-community milestone, even though that's no longer his main plan to house the homeless.
We view this as a different tool in the toolbox, but a very effective one.
On a week when open government is celebrated across America, Democrats at the state capitol roll back a transparency law.
It's disappointing that we just throw up our arms and say it's too hard to follow these, we won't follow them.
It's a wolf kill of sorts, taking out the governor's choice to help lead Colorado Parks and Wildlife, raising questions about why the governor's picks so often serve and make big decisions before they get scrutiny. And a school struggles to help kids develop a love of music when they don't have instruments for them to play. That's tonight on Next. One hard thing about finding homes for people living on Denver streets has been finding Denverites who are willing to live near them. Sounds harsh, but it's true. Neighborhood after neighborhood fought so-called micro-community sites. The Johnson administration's first standalone micro-community site, 60 tiny homes, opened today off Santa Fe. Here's Mark Salinger with that.
Tucked away between a neighborhood and a highway, a collection of 60 tiny homes is Denver's newest hope for solving homelessness.
We are proud to welcome you to La Paz, which is our newest community that we are just opening today.
By the end of this week, every bed will be full with people who are currently sleeping on the street. Mayor Mike Johnston says these 4 walls, a mattress, and a desk are enough to change lives.
We think the first strategy, if you want to address unsheltered homelessness, is getting people off of the streets.
Johnston's homelessness plan has always started with bringing people inside. No questions asked.
We do not screen up front to say, have you already gone through a drug rehab program? Have you already gone through a workforce training program? Have you already completed mental health services? What we know is it's very hard to receive those services if you're living in a tent every night.
While Denver operates 4 hotels for the homeless, the city says these micro-communities cost about a quarter of the price per unit. Yet the challenge has always been figuring out where to put them.
I have heard a lot from the community, and I want them to know that I hear them.
Councilwoman Flor Alvidrez represents the Overland neighborhood in South Denver off Santa Fe. Even she acknowledges the only services nearby are the ones that are being brought inside these fences.
There's a big concern about pushing people out of downtown and bringing them into other neighborhoods. There's no RTD access here. There's no grocery store in this neighborhood, things like that.
This is my home. This has been my home for 34 years.
Denver had planned to open 120 tiny homes here, but cut the number in half after neighbors like Douglas Danger complained.
I think it's a bad idea for this type of neighborhood. I mean, this is a very, very small neighborhood. We're only 120 people, houses big, and by the time they're done, they're effectively going to double the size of our neighborhood.
While some worry about what it'll bring, the first residents offered a bed and a roof. We'll start moving in tomorrow.
We think we've brought really some of the best talent with the most expertise to make this site a real success, and we're optimistic it will be.
The mayor's homelessness initiative has brought more than 1,300 people off the streets and into shelter. The goal is to move as many of those people as possible into permanent housing. Taking a look at the numbers so far, though, less than a third have actually moved into permanent housing so far, while nearly 2/3, about 800 or so people, have been in hotel and micro-community style for more than 30 days.
How does this compare on a cost basis?
So we asked the mayor that question. A micro-community, they break it down by cost per unit. They say a micro-community, one of those tiny homes, costs about $25,000 to $30,000 per unit. If you look at hotels, either buying or leasing those hotels, those can cost up to $100,000 per room. So that's one of the advantages to micro-communities, a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, this was the talk of the Denver mayoral campaign, both from Johnston and a lot of other people. Everybody's saying micro communities, and then boom, hit the hard reality of how do you house that many people, and he goes into hotels.
And there were so many communities that said, not here, we support it maybe, just not in mine.
Yeah, all right, Mark, thank you. So yeah, micro communities like La Paz, they were Mike Johnston's main plan for short-term housing for the homelessness during his campaign. And then when he ran into resistance, city turns to converting hotels. Well, tonight, City Council is going to consider whether to spend $25 million on one of those. And they're pitching it as a way to save money over the long run. So Denver's been spending $825,000 a month to lease the former Embassy Suites in South Denver. It's currently a shelter for families and LGBTQ people who have been living on the streets. So it's a total of about $10 million a year. The city's finance department is recommending that the city instead spend $25 million to purchase the Embassy Suites outright, with the plan to sell it 3 years from now. There are skeptics on city council who want to pump the brakes on big purchases like that, while Denver's also trying to find a projected $120 million to cover the cost of the migrant crisis. Democrats at the state capitol are exempting state legislators from some open meetings laws over the strong objection of open records advocates and journalists. The bill that now heads to the governor's desk will redefine what counts as public business, allowing legislators to debate bills privately with one another via text and email. The bill's Democratic sponsors say that they are clarifying the rules after Democratic reps Bob Marshall and Elizabeth Epps sued both parties for open meeting violations for using one-on-one meetings and encrypted messaging apps to decide which bills would live or die. House and Senate leadership have said that that lawsuit stifled conversation at the Capitol. Reps Marshall and Epps were part of a small minority of Democrats who joined with Republicans in opposing the bill as it advanced today.
It was fairly disappointing, though, in the attitude towards any kind of reform from many members of this body in terms of being upset that we can't operate this way. Well, we put laws on the business community all the time who say the same thing, and we expect them to follow them.
Critics of the open meetings law carve out for legislators say that those critics and the public were left out of discussions about the bill. They tried and failed today to get it sent back to committee for more discussion. The Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition says it was not consulted on this open meetings bill and is now urging Democratic Governor Jared Polis to veto it.
What do we have to hide? What does it take to kick it back and go through it one more time to make sure we get the process right?
Something particularly noxious about a bill that's ostensibly about transparency being one at which the folks who are most involved in working on transparency bills are not being heard.
So Colorado likes to brag about having 300 days of sunshine a year. It's a myth, but it makes us feel good. This is National Sunshine Week, celebrating a different kind of bright light, the kind that should shine on the actions of government, 365 days a year. This is the week when journalists and citizens celebrate together our right to see what our government is doing. This is also the week that Democrats at the Colorado State Capitol decided to exempt themselves from parts of the open meetings law. That sounds like a bad joke, and it's one that we have heard from them before. Twice in the last year, Democrats at the Capitol have tried to keep public business a secret, got caught, got sued, and lost for violating the law. So now they're changing the law to keep more of their conversations in the dark. Two Democrats who dared sue their own caucus for more transparency were demoted from a prestigious committee. Coloradans may have voted for single-party rule at the Capitol, but we don't deserve to get rolled. Democrats at the state Capitol say that they support openness and transparency. Much like Colorado's supposed 300 days of sunshine, it's a myth, but it makes them feel good. Happy National Sunshine Week, everybody. So the governor has a power that does not get a tremendous amount of attention. It is the power to appoint people to boards that make significant policy decisions. And depending on when the governor makes that appointment, the power could go unchecked by other elected representatives for months. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger explains.
We have the privilege of having 3 new commissioners this morning.
The July meeting of the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission began with the introduction of 3 new commissioners.
Jess Beaulieu, Gary Skiba, and Jack Murphy. Welcome to our commission.
Welcome is a bit premature. Even though their names and bios are on the Parks and Wildlife Commission website, Jess Beaulieu, Gary Skiba, and Jack Murphy are not exactly official yet, even though they get to vote on parks and wildlife issues. The 3 of them were appointed in July by Democratic Governor Jared Polis. Polis appoints members to almost 300 boards and commissions. Appointees to 100 of these boards require state Senate approval.
It's a challenging process that we have.
Democratic State Senator Dylan Roberts chaired the Senate committee that was responsible for a yes or no recommendation to the full Senate on the 3 Parks and Wildlife appointees. He was the swing vote that resulted in Beaulieu and Skiba getting unfavorable recommendations. Skiba has since withdrawn his name from consideration. Beaulieu could still be approved by the full Senate. They both participated in 4 meetings since being appointed, but not yet confirmed.
But it certainly could maybe be improved to make sure that every appointment can't make critical decisions without having their Senate confirmation.
State law is on the governor's side. If an appointment is made after the legislative session ends in early May, that appointee can serve until the Senate is back again the next year.
It's coming to mind right now. We could have like a confirmation special session every year in October or something, or November, to clean up all the appointments that have come through since we got done in May.
There are only two ways for the legislature to meet after May: call themselves back into session with 2/3 support, or have the governor call a special session.
And I doubt he would call us back to confirm controversial appointments that he had made.
Specific to the Parks and Wildlife Commission, there's a board meeting on Wednesday and Thursday, and a spokesman told me all current commissioners are expected to attend and vote on issues. Presumably that includes Jess Beaulieu, who has that unfavorable committee recommendation by a vote of 4-3, but has not yet had the full Senate vote yet. So limbo still for one of them who has not pulled back their recommendation or their nomination.
This is kind of deep, nerdy stuff, but
Absolutely.
there's a reason why every time those emails come in with the appointments from the governor, the two of us scan through them really quick, looking for people that we know about. Right. Because we know that there's great power that comes with those assignments.
Yeah, I've always been like, oh, whose name do I recognize, and why do they get this specific thing that nobody really pays attention to except for the two of us nerds here? But the secret apparently is if you do it from May to December, they've got more power than if you do it from January to May, because if you do it in January to May, they cannot start serving until they are confirmed, because the Senate is in action at that point.
I'm going to guess the mayor's team or the governor's team knows that. All right, Marshall Dellinger, thank you. Hey, I've got a double update for you on your Word of Thanks generosity tonight. Your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign raised more than $16,000 for A Woman's Place, Weld County's only domestic violence safe house. And that is not even counting the big check that is coming at the end of the month from all of you who give monthly now to the Word of Thanks Fund. And today, the Kendrick Castillo Memorial Fund announced that the public has raised $70,000 for the memorial to that young hero of the STEM school Highlands Ranch shooting. 60 of the $70,000 raised came from your Word of Thanks microgiving. You not only covered the cost of the memorial that will be built in Civic Green Park, but you funded a robotics scholarship in Kendrick's name. We're coming up on your 200th consecutive week of giving. If you know of a nonprofit anywhere in our state that could use our help, email me next at 9news.com.
Why would we need a resolution to simply make a statement about what we aren't?
Conservatives in Weld County are split over whether to proclaim that place a non-sanctuary, trying to keep migrants from coming to their community. And the hope to get some gently used musical instruments to a school that is growing faster than its band program can handle. Next. Republican commissioners in Weld County have rejected an anti-sanctuary resolution that's been making the rounds in conservative parts of our state. They've pointed out it's just political posturing. GOP Commissioner Lori Sain brought up a resolution similar to what we've seen from conservatives in Colorado Springs and Aurora. It would have declared Weld County a non-sanctuary city and opposed the, quote, misuse of public funds for migrants. The all-Republican Weld County Board of Commissioners voted it down. They noted, as county attorneys have elsewhere, that these resolutions don't actually change anything.
A resolution is for legal, actionable items on behalf of the county. This resolution had no actionable items in it. It was a political statement, quite frankly, a campaign statement by somebody.
So now the Colorado Republican Party is picking up the torch, trying to get party members to have Lori Sain's anti-sanctuary resolution passed in their communities, and saying the state GOP leadership will vote on that symbolic measure soon.
What a nice way to start the week with hazy sunshine and above average temperatures in the 60s, especially when we're tracking a significant storm for Wednesday into Thursday that could have high impacts for the metro area and high snow totals as well. No issues tonight or tomorrow, but the storm comes in Wednesday into Thursday for 5 to 10 inches of snow, and the potential snow amounts for the foothills could be even higher. 62 in Denver today. We saw 70s in southeastern Colorado. We may be as warm tomorrow with high and mid-level clouds coming in. The snow will start to fly in the mountains tomorrow. National Weather Service putting out a winter storm watch for Thursday for 1 to 2 feet of snow. In the winter weather advisory area, up to a foot of snow, and that advisory goes out for tomorrow. No advisories for snow in Denver yet. Tonight, the high clouds move through, maybe a brief rain shower, no issues. This gets us into Tuesday afternoon. The snow picks up in the mountains. Denver doesn't see the moisture until Wednesday, first in the form of rain as we're in Wednesday afternoon, mixing and changing over to snow Wednesday night into Thursday, turning heavy throughout the day on Thursday before winding down and moving out on Friday. The models are all over the place, but two of them are coming into agreement with a total of about 9 inches for Denver, over a foot for Castle Rock out to Parker, and back into the Front Range foothill areas. So these are some of the amounts we need to be prepared for as we're moving into Thursday morning for that drive and the Thursday evening drive. No issues with our drive tonight. A beautiful evening. So your extended forecast shows a mild day Tuesday, rain to snow Wednesday, heavy snow Thursday, clearing Friday, and then a cool but dry weekend with sunshine and 40s.
We had jumped from virtually a zero program to, nearly 200 kids.
All aboard the bandwagon, so to speak. Now, how to find an instrument for all those kids. That's next. How to count the needs of a growing school. More desks, more chairs, more pencils, more musical instruments. That last item being considerably more expensive than the rest. Our Byron Reed looks at the effort trying to help a growing school in Brighton.
The point of most music rehearsals is fixing mistakes before a big performance.
I like rehearsing.
Ready?
Vincent Castillo is an 8th grade euphonium player at the VCon Middle School in Brighton, where students are getting some last-minute tune-ups before their concert.
We were practicing our song When the Wolves Howl. So far it's been really fun just to play.
Ready, and...
The middle school band program has about 200 students total. That's nearly double the size they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, I have the best problem in the world. I have a ton of students. It's one of those things where you don't want to complain until you realize, all right, I have all of these. How do I get instruments in their hands?
It's an issue that school band director Aaron Carnahan says he's had help with through the Bringing Music to Life instrument drive. The nonprofit collects gently used donations and puts them in the hands of struggling schools across the state.
They deserve to have a functional instrument that is theirs to take care of, to keep track of, and of course to make music on.
And that's music to the ears of his students.
Because most students can't afford it or have to return it at the end of the year, which can be kind of discouraging.
It's a drive that ends on a high note for students like Vincent Castillo.
I feel like that's really cool that my school is getting all these experience.
And help for a music program that's making more room for improvement.
Honestly, I can't wait to see just how much more support they're able to provide to schools who need it.
For Next,
We'll work on that.
I'm Byron Reed.
Work on that. 9 News is a partner with the Bringing Music to Life Instrument Drive, which runs through March 16th. You can find a full list of donation sites on 9news.com. We are back with your feedback. Thank you so much. Next. Feedback tonight on our commentary about Democrats at the state legislature exempting themselves from some open meetings laws. Pete says, I worked at the Capitol for more than 25 years. Staggering the amount of arrogance and hypocrisy by the majority. Father Michael writes in to say next step would be for Mayor Johnson to get RTD service to give a route to those tiny homes, that community. Otherwise, they get to work. How else will they get to and from work? That's a great point. It also goes to show how some neighborhoods better suited for these communities than others, and so much pushback from various neighborhoods around the city. See you next time.